welcome to my channel where IT meets innovation. Come, let's journey together into the world of tech. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment and share. Let's get started. I'm Anuluakbo, and in this video I'll be showing us how to create a virtual machine on Azure. So Azure is a cloud service provider, and on it I'll be creating a software that emulates the physical computer, and that is what we call a virtual machine. So before creating a virtual machine, there are things we need to configure, such as our virtual network security groups, public IP, and so on. So what does it mean? So the first thing we are going to be creating is our resource group. So it's a container that will host every resources that we'll be using to create our VM. Every will be in our resource group. So after creating our resource group, we move to our virtual network, which is our VNet. So it is our own network in the cloud. That is, it sounds like our private IP. And from it, we are going to be creating our subnets that will be attaching it to our NIC, our virtual machine. And then we have our NIC also, which is the virtual network adapter that connects the VM to the VNet. And the NIC actually holds our private IP and our public IP. So NSG is a security rules that helps control our inbound and outbound traffics at both the network interface and subnet level. So what we are going to be doing, we are going to be associating our NSG with our NIC as we proceed. So we have our public IP address, which is the IP address that allows us to communicate with the internet. Okay, so this is the summary of what I'll be doing. So we have our internet, and we have our resource group, a big container that houses our virtual network, our subnet, the public IP we are going to be creating, NIC, NSG. So we have our virtual network. From our virtual network, we create subnets, and from the subnets, we are going to create a NIC, which is our network interface card, whereby we associate it with our public IP, and then we set NSG. We associate our NSG with our NIC so that it can control the traffic that are coming into our VM. So if you are ready for that, let's get started. So let's go to the Azure portal. So we are already in Azure portal now. So the first thing we are going to be creating is our resource group. So you can search resource groups and on the search bar here, and then it should take us to this. So we have the subscription, which is ABC of Cloud subscription. A big thank you to ABC of Cloud for the opportunity that they have given unto me to have this subscription. So the resource group, I'm going to name it my name, which is no resource group. So region, I will leave it as East US. So I will review it and then create. So I have the validation passed already. So from now we have our resource group. So the next thing we'll be creating is our virtual network. Let me just demonstrate it from here. We have our virtual network. Create our virtual network. So we have our virtual network now. So the next thing is we are going to create the virtual network. After creating the virtual network, so before we can create a virtual network, we have to pass through some basic security IP addresses. So now in our basics, we are going to be, now I have our resource group. Just like I said, we have our resource group. So that means our virtual network will be in this resource group. So the next thing we do is we give our virtual network, we give it a name. So I will name it VNet. VNet. So The region I will leave it in East US. And then security, for now I'm going to leave this. I will still come over and explain this firewall version, and so I will move to the IP address. So just like I said, that in a virtual network we have our own IP, that is the IP that we want to, which is our private IP. So in this video I'll be using this IP. So I'll be using this IP 192.192.168. So I'm using this IP. So this will be /24. So after creating this, I have to create a subnet. So what is my subnet name? I'm going to name it Anu subnet. I'll just name it Anu subnet 1. Yeah, I have it. Anu subnet 1. Then after that, I'm going to change this size into /29. So, and I want it to start from 0. So I'll click add. So I'll just be creating one subnet for this video, which is what I've created. So we move to next, tag next, and then let's wait for it to validate. Then let's create. So it is deploying. So we've created our virtual network now. So these are so deployment is still in progress. Good. So when you have go to resources, just like you've seen, your deployment is complete. So the next thing we are going to create from our, I want us to follow this. So we've created our resource group, we've created our virtual network, we've created our subnet. So let's create our PIP, which is our public IP. So let's create our public IP, public IP address. So public IP is the IP that allows us to communicate with the internet. So we need to create that. Actually, if we can allow Azure to give us our public IP. Azure can give us public IP, can give us our private, can give us NSG, which is fine. But in this video, I just want us to create our own. We create our own NSG, we create our own public IP, and then we attach it to our virtual machine. Let's tap it again. So let's be patient. Let's see. Still loading. Alright, here it's back. So that's network. So create public IP address. So I have my resource group ready. So what is the name of my public IP? So I will name it Anopip. So I'll leave it as IPv4, standard, zone redundant, regional, static, DNS. So I'll just click review and create. So let's create. Deployment is in progress. Alright, so we have our public IP created. So the next thing is let's create our network interface. Network. So we create our network interface which holds our public IP and our private IP. So resource group, I will still use the resource group we created. Then let's give this a name, which is our name is Anunek. Now in this virtual network, Azure has created a virtual network for us, automatically has created a virtual network for us, but we are not going to use the virtual network that Azure gives to us. We use the one we created, which is Anu VNet. So and then our subnet, Azure has already created another subnet for us. You can see new subnet, but we are not going to use that. We are going to use the one we created, which is our new subnet. So I'll be using our new subnet. I'll leave it at IP4 dynamic, review and create. Let's wait for the validation and then create. So finally we've created our NIC. So the next thing we have to create is our NSG. And what is the work of NSG? Just like I said, NSG is going to help us to to manage the traffics, the inbound and outbound traffic that are coming into our VM. So we need to create that also. We've got network security group. So let's create network security group. So create. So let's pick our resource group. Let's name it. The name we'll name it Anu NSG. So the region is East US. So let's create. If we pick different region, it won't be successful. We are going to have problem when we want to connect it with each other because they are not in the same region. So everything needs to be in the same region. So then we can now create. Okay, so finally we've created our NSG, we've created our NIC, we've created our public IP. So what I'll be doing now is I'm going to be associating my public IP to my NIC. So let's go to resource, and from the resource, this is my NIC, which is my network interface. So I want to associate it with my public IP. So we'll move down to IP configuration. And from this IP configuration, we can see that we already have this IP. These are IP, it is dynamic, and we are going to change it. We are going to attach our public IP that we created to it. So let's click on IP4 config, format. We can actually put it in static if we want, depending on what we want. Dynamic means it should be changing, and static means it will just be in only that IP is not going to change. But for this video, I'm going to put it in dynamic. So I write associate. Can we see associate public IP address? So I want to associate it with the public IP that I created, which is this is the public IP that I created, which is an pip, and then we save it. Okay, so now our NIC is having our private IP and our public IP. So with this now, before we go, let's also try and associate our NSG. We want to associate our NSG to our NIC, just like I said. We are going to be associating our security group to our NIC. So we are in NSG. So let's go to network interface. So we can see that there is no NIC, there is no any network interface for now. So what we are going to do is we are going to associate one, which is the one we created, and that is ANUNIC. So we'll be using ANUNIC, then okay. Let's refresh. Good. So this, it means that this NIC is associated with this energy. So any rule that we set in our security group will definitely affect the IPs that are here, the public IP and the private IP. So now that we've done that, now we've created our NSG, we've created our NIC, which is our interface, network interface. So the next thing is let's try and create our VM. So let's virtual machine. Virtual machine. Now let's start with creating our virtual machine. So we all know our resource group is ANU resource group, and then I'm going to name it ANU VM. Okay, yeah, I'm going to name it ANU VM. That's space. Okay. So from there, I will leave it east zone, availability zone east. Yeah, I'm going to change the image. This I'm going to change it to Windows Server 2022, depending on kind of operating system that we want to use. So I will leave it with this size, is fine. Then I have to put, what's the name? I'm going to use ANU VM, just like the name I used over there. ANU VM. Then password. I'm going to give it the password. Confirm the password. Okay. Then I'm going to allow selected port, which is my how DP. I'm going to allow the how DP. This is for testing, so that is why I'm going to be allowing the how DP. So next I'm going to click my disk, and I'll be choosing, yeah, it's fine. Operating disk size is fine. So I'm going to click network. So now I have my virtual network, I have my subnet. Now, just like I said, Azure always creates a public IP for us, depending. But what we are going to do now is that we are going to create this virtual machine with this Azure public IP, and then when we are done, will now show us how to associate it with the public IP that we created. So let us allow Azure to create this public IP for us. Then we can, yes, we can actually advance and choose our NSG from here. It's fine. we can use it from here. Also, we can choose based on the NSG that we have. We can use it. So we know we've created our NSG. So we want delete public IP when yes. So when we delete this VM, we want our public IP and NIC to be deleted also. So let's review and create. So let's see. Create. So let's wait for it to load. Deployment is in progress. Good. So we have our deployment complete, our VM. So let's go to the resource and let's check. So from this we have our public IP, which is this. That is the IP that Azure gives to us. Let's check the network. You can see the public IP is this, and this is the IP, the network interface that Azure created for us. So what we'll be doing now is that I want us to associate it with the one we created. So before doing that, I'm going to stop this. I'm going to stop this. So let's look at the status. VM machine status is not okay. So let's wait for it to stop before associating it with. Alright, so we can see that with the status is we've deallocated. So let's go to our resource group. So what I want to do now is I want to attach my NIC to my VM. Okay, so let's go to the VM again. From the VM, let's go to network settings. So this is, we can see this is the NIC, just like I said, that Azure created for us. So this is, we want to change this, we want to use the one we created. So to do that, we attach network interface, we attach a new one, and then we attach the one we created, which is so let's wait for it to attach. It's still loading, so let's wait. Alright, good. So we finally attached this network interface, as you can see. Sorry, attached network interface. So this is, now we have the NIC, the one we created. So let's check. This is the public IP and this is the private IP. So which is fine. So I'm going to detach the one Azure give to me. I'm going to detach it because I want to use the one I created by myself. So let's watch public IP 135.192. So as it successfully detached. Okay, now it's detached network interface. So let's check our VM. Let's confirm if we are using. So let's take note of this. These are public IP and these are private IP. This is the one Azure gives. So let's refresh. Let's give it time. I'm going to refresh from here. So finally we have our public IP. That is the one we created, the people created. And we have the public IP, we have the private IP. So good. So let's check the NSG also. I want us to check the NSG before we connect. So let's go to NSG. So we need to associate our NSG to our NIC. So okay, we have it already. Now this has been to our VM. That is, this our NIC has been linked to our VM. So let's go. So with this now, we are good to go. VM. So this VM is using our public IP that we created, is using our VNet and the private IP. Okay, so so this is what I'm looking for, just to be sure. Network interface, we are using anonic. So with this now, let's check. Let's run our VM. Let's run our VM. What's the status? Start. Connect. So because this is just a testing, that is why we are going to be using our how DP to have access to our VM. Production, this is not advisable, but for testing sake, I'll be using this link to have access to our VM. So this is the VM. Let's connect. Yes, we can see this error. Remote desktop can't connect to the remote computer. Why? Because of the NSG rule. Just like I said that the network security rules, we need to go and check our network security rules to actually know if we can have access, if we can use our how DP to have access to our VM. So let's go. Because we didn't create any rule, for our NSG. So let's go and check the default. So let's check. Now this is the default of our, let's check our inbound rules. So from these inbound rules, we can see that deny all inbound. It is denying all inbound. So it is not possible for us to have access to our VM through the how DP because we have denied all inbound. So that means we are going to create another rule that will give us access to, so that we can use the how DP to have access to our virtual machine. So the source any, source port range all, any destination, any custom. I'm going to be using I'm going to be using the how DP. So how DP, I already have the port, so I will say allow how DP. So allow how DP and priority 100. Yes, but I would love to put 1000. Still the same to 1000. So yes. So this is having the priority. This is having the priority. So this one we first stick to this rule first before it follows all other rules. So based on this priority, this one comes first. So let's go back to our VM and let's try it again. So let's connect. So this is time for us to connect back to our VM. So can you see the difference? The first time we don't have access to write our securities, our password. Why? Because the energy, just like I said, help us to control the traffic that are coming into our VM. Once again, I need to tell us that this RDP that I use is not the right way in production. Just for testing sake, that is why I'm using this route. So the password, I'm going to put my password. So and finally, we have our VM populated. So finally we have our virtual machine, and then with this we can actually do anything we want to do. This is connected to internet, so I'm going to check something now. So we have our VM. So let me check something. So IP config. Okay, so these are a private IP, which is 192.168.207.4, which is good. So with this now uh our oh, I would like to check something. Show that it's connected to the internet. So this is connected to the internet. We can see this virtual machine is connected to the internet. I would like to check something, my IP. So as you can see, this is my IP address. Is the same with this. So thank you so much for this. For I believe you have learned one or two things in this video on how to create virtual machine on Azure.